All right, friends, I'm here to talk about something very important: innovation for the enterprise, by the enterprise. Here's the reality. If what we create in the blockchain space is only built by degens for degens, then we may not have mass adoption with the government. So when we talk about all the opportunities for humanity, the billions of people that can be benefited by the automation of blockchain technology or AI technology, if we're only building it for these kind of wild, far-off use cases of making art and selling art for a profit, or destroying the financial system and creating DeFi, money for the people, by the people, if it's only that, then will we ever actually transition passports to the blockchain? Or titles for homes to the blockchain? Or the pink slip for your car? Or your membership or your receipts? You know, all the boring uses of blockchain that would radically impact all of humanity. Just here in the Philippines, 100 million people live here. And in addition to that, you got, I heard 250 million in Indonesia, 100 million in Vietnam. So you have 500 million people just in these three countries that would be very much benefited if we could start having trust, right? If the people could trust each other and trust the organizations and trust the government, what would happen if people could double or 5x their income because they can get more compensation for their time because there's automation that allows them to do so? And so these are some of the things that have been on my mind and on the mind and the actions of the people that I get to work with. I've been coming here to Philippines for 15 years. I absolutely love all of you Filipino people. You captivated my heart the first time I came. I flew into Manila, and then I took another plane with about 40 of my friends, and we went to Negros Oriental, over to Dumaguete, beautiful, beautiful place. And at that time, I was part of a band. So we did like 30 concerts in less than a month. It was a wild, wild experience. And I just remember thinking, I love this culture. I love these people. There's something so amazing and sweet about it. But one of the things I remember hearing 15 years ago were some of the problems that were going on with the local economy. I remember hearing that the number one export out of the Philippines were Filipinos that left to go make a living. The number one import at that time was US dollars. And I remember thinking, well, that's broken. This is an amazing people with an amazing country with so many resources. Why aren't they a powerhouse in the world right now? And that's always been on my mind, is this thought of what could be if only the right tools were made available. And last year when I was here, when we started Philippine Blockchain Week, I talked a bit about kind of Blockchain 101. That was a lot of what I was focused on in that talk. And this year, I really want to talk about enterprise use cases. And here's the reason. When John's up here speaking about what they do with Final Pitch, I'm thinking about all those businesses, all those startups that are becoming large enterprises. I'm thinking about the large sponsors that are here, that are like stepping up for Donald and the rest of the team and saying, yeah, okay, we'll sponsor the event. Like, we want to be a part of this. We believe in this idea. But I ask, what is blockchain going to do for these companies? What is this technology actually going to do for these sponsors? Are we just asking these sponsors to sponsor a bunch of anarchists that are building technology for other anarchists? Or are we saying to them, hey, if you give this industry a chance, we will automate all of those boring things that are tedious and difficult for you to manage. We have the solution to your problem. And that is a lot of what I hope to discuss with you today. All right. The very first thing we're going to talk about is governance. So let me talk to you about the three models of governance that you probably are familiar with. There's dictatorships. Now, dictatorships have very low trust, but you can get a lot done. Only one person makes a decision. The dictator decides what happens. Okay, then there's democracy. Well, democracy sounds nice because you have trust. Many people make a decision, but it's really slow. right? It's hard to get everybody on the same page. So that's why you have this constant tension between dictatorships over here and democracy over here. And I've heard it said that democracy is the worst type of government. It's just the best thing we've come up with so far. And then people say, well, how about anarchism? Like, could we just do anarchism? Like, what if we just do whatever we want and that's it? There's no dictator telling us what to do. There's no democracy with all the people being in agreement. I do whatever I want, however I want. Nobody can stop me. So I'm here to present a different governance model that I see happening with the 6 million people that are part of a DAO. And what this governance model is I believe an enlightened way of operating as a community. This governance model is a council. It is trusted because the council have been vetted, they're committed, but it's also fast because a council is just a few people. It's not everybody coming to agreement. It's not just one dictator making all the decisions. It's a full council that makes these decisions. And so what I'm going to introduce to you is what I have found to be the most exciting governance model that I found basically in any environment. It's the governance model I like as much or more than any DAO, decentralized autonomous organization I've seen, or any government. And this governance model has been adopted by Hedera. What you see on the screen are a bunch of logos that you probably recognize. Now, here's the problem with logos, right? When you see Boeing and Google and Shinhan Bank, when you see LG and IBM, the first thing that comes to your mind is people put logos on their screens all the time. That doesn't mean anything. Okay, so what? So you built a little like technology for them? Like, do they even know that you're on your slide, Ian? So this group of 29 companies are 29 of the largest companies in the world that we invited at Hedera to be our council. So rather than the founders make all the decisions for the Hedera network, rather than the developers make all the decisions, what we have asked these companies to do is we've invited them to sit on the council and to make decisions for the entire network. So this causes great trust, and it also allows there to be great speed. And then we pick a board from this council, and we fill up committees, chairs for committees, and we have different decision-making bodies that can all work at hyperspeed together in unity with a great level of trust. Now, what does Hedera and the Hedera network get from these council members? Well, we get really guarantees. They are the ones that run our nodes. They keep our distributed ledger technology network going. It's because of them that we have a sustainable network with a great environmental approach. Because of them, we are affordable. Because of them, we are fast. And because of them, our network knows they're not dependent on myself or any other executive at Hedera or even the network, because these organizations are the ones that are stepping up and making a commitment to run this network. And this is why this matters, because when you look at the major sponsors of this event, like Philippine Air, if you're out there, we should maybe talk about you joining our council. But Philippine Air, if they understood that Google and IBM and LG was behind this technology, this automation, all of a sudden they start saying, oh, so maybe there's something there for us to actually automate a lot of the processes that we are struggling with that is boring and not automated and manual. In addition to that, how about the government here? How about the Philippine government kind of leaning in? And if not the entire country of the Philippines, how about the city of Manila? What happens if the 25 million people that live in the greater Manila metro area was able to count on automation technology like Hedera's built, because it becomes apparent that this council is trusted, committed, helping this whole thing to run, and they're fast because they have just a few. It's a council of few. The next thing I want to talk to you about is sustainability. Now, sometimes sustainability has become kind of a weird subject. You know how in politics, in the UK, it's the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. In America, it's Republicans and Democrats. And here's kind of how it works, right? It's like, okay, I am a Republican or I'm a conservative party member, or whatever it is in your country, and we have our news channels, and we love ourselves, and we totally pretend like all the dumb things we do don't matter, and we just talk bad about everybody else, right? And then over here, you have the opposite party. And this group over here, they're the Democrats, they're the Labor Party, and they're just constantly demonizing the other people, and they're glorifying themselves, right? They're the angels, that's Satan over there. And this whole thing of dividing people is very powerful for politicians. In fact, dividing people is very powerful for religions. You know, it's interesting, the two things you're not supposed to talk about, religion and politics. Because why is that? Why would we not talk about the things that is most important to us? Like who we count on to make things better for ourselves and our family. Why would we not talk about the things that we are unseen, right? The spiritual part of our life. Why would we do that? Well, somehow we allowed ourselves to get into this rhythm being glorified and demonized. And one other thing that has happened with this is sustainability. And it's, climate change, the world's gonna end. We have to protect the world at all costs. Oh, there is no climate issue, that's just, propaganda. And instead of just coming together and say, well, what good decisions can we make? It becomes about, you're bad, we're good. And so let me present to you just some science. What you're looking at on this graph is all the different blockchains you might be familiar with, like Bitcoin, as well as, you have Ethereum on there. Unfortunately, many of these blockchains are not only slow and expensive, but they're really using a ton of energy to run. Even Visa uses 1,000 times the amount of energy that we use. And when I talk about what we've done as a governance model, Visa was really our inspiration. Visa was all these huge global financial institutions that came together and said, we need a council, just a few people to make a decision on how we can process payments, and that inspired us for our governance model. But when we looked at Visa's ecological model, we thought, well, that's not good. I mean, they're just using so much energy. Finally, I want to discuss with you innovation. And I'm almost done. So this is the moment to lean in. I started with governance, I went to sustainability, so that you get an idea of what's important to us. So let me actually explain to you how this works. There is a problem that blockchain's trying to solve, and when you look at this, these are the challenges, right? Enormous amounts of energy, you see that in the major blockchains, low processing speed, high unpredictable processing costs, security vulnerabilities, and centralization and transparency concerns. Oftentimes, you don't actually know what's going on. People say one thing from the stage, but their actions don't actually seem to match. This, what you're seeing here, is kind of how we see blockchain distributed ledger technology changing over time. So Bitcoin comes out, yes, they can only do 3 transactions per second, and yes, they're quite expensive and slow, and they use a lot of energy. And so then a whole group came together and said, well, why don't we try a different approach? And they came out with Ethereum, which now we have all these layer 2 blockchains built on top of. Now, of course, this is a massive improvement to Bitcoin, but still there are some issues with the energy usage and the speed and the cost. And so what we've done at Hedera is we fixed the price. So when somebody does any transaction with us on the Hedera blockchain, not only do they have these huge companies behind it, not only is it ecologically friendly, but it's also the fastest and the most affordable of them all. Finally, before I close out, these are requirements for enterprise use cases. Now, if you want to learn more, I suggest you go to hedera.com, Hedera.com. I'm not going to read this to you, but I want you to know that there's requirements that if you're thinking about using distributed ledger technology in your network, that these are the things that are going to matter to them. Thank you so much for allowing me to come and share with you. Tomorrow, I will be talking about AI and blockchain technology collaboration, and it's always a joy to be here. I just want to say to Donald, Cheska, Janelle, Jay, and Tara, I really honor the 5 of you. To our amazing MCs that are holding down, it was so good to bond with the 3 of you. And to all of you beautiful people, thank you for your attention.